Are we live? All right, so we're doing this. Yeah, Magnus Mills. So when I started doing these things, I probably should have started off with James Joyce Samuel back in Magnus Mills, but I I was kind of going through my books, and this is, I mean, because I'm doing like these real thin books that are about 100 pages. Most Magnus Mills books are very thin and stuff. So Magnus Mills, I mean, he's not that old. He's born in 1954, Birmingham. He's an English writer, and he's a bus driver. He's known for his first novel, The Restraint of Beasts, which was praised by Thomas Pynchon. Following the success of Restraint of Beasts and the follow up, All Quiet on the Orient Express, he quit work as a bus driver for 4 months as a project to see if he can make it as a full time writer. Three to See the King, which is what we got here, published in 2001, was the result. It received positive reviews, and he worked as a van driver for several years, which resulted in the scheme of full employment, which I like too. 2003, and it had more mixed reception. And so his books usually feature one or more working class men as protagonists. And so he has I mean, novels. I mean, almost 50 novels, but they're all really short. He's almost written like since '98. He's maybe written one every year. So and a few short stories. So maybe 20. He has 20 books. So you must know who this guy is. Like so. So let me read a little bit of this, and then we'll talk about it. Like just his style. So he's like, we don't know when he's actually born. So he's almost 70. He's gonna be 70 this year, probably. He's already 70, probably. Okay, so Magnus Mills, Three to See the King. I live in a house built entirely from tin, with four tin walls, a roof of tin, a chimney, and a door, entirely from tin. My house has no windows because there's nothing to see. Oh, there are shutters that can be used to let the light in when required, but they remain closed against the weather for most of the time. It stands in a wild place, my house, high up on the plain. At night it creaks and groans as the wind batters it for an hour after hour in a search of a gap to get inside. Even the door has to be bolted top from bottom to stop it from being blown open. I used to worry in case one day I might lose the roof, but so far that hasn't happened. And now I'm certain the structure is quite sound. The man who built it made sure of that. I found the house empty a few years ago and adopted it for my own use. At first sight, I knew it had to be everything I could need: somewhere to eat, drink, and sleep without disturbance, protected from the elements by a layer of corrugated metal and nothing more. A very modest dwelling, I must say, but it looked clean and tidy, so I moved in. For a while, I was quite content here and remained convinced I wouldn't find no better place to be. Then one day a woman arrived at my door and said, "So, this is where you've been hiding." So that's like the first chapter. Uh, so, I mean, kind of, now that I read it, kind of seems like a Momus book or something, or something, George Perec or something. Okay, chapter two. This is pretty funny. I'm getting into that. Let's read a little bit of chapter two. She was wrong there. I wasn't hiding from anybody. My house of tin was a place I chosen to live. It had nothing to do with the hiding. Yet the way she put it made me sound as though I'd run away. You may ask, who was this woman? Well, I hardly knew her really. A friend of a friend, I suppose you might say. The last person I expected to turn up, if the truth be known. But she seemed keen on a guided tour, so I invited her inside. It was the time of year when the stove had to be lit all the time just to maintain some warmth. She gave a little shiver as I closed the door behind her, and then stood staring around with a sort of surprised smile or half laugh on her face. "It's practically bare," she said. "Yes," I replied. "But you can't live like this." Why not? You just can't. I think the sparseness of my existence had caught her out. I had no pictures on the wall to brighten them up, nor any kind of other kind of decoration. I suppose she was taken aback by how basic it was. I pointed out that there was a pot of fresh coffee on the top of the stove, meaning to show her that it wasn't all hardship, but I'm afraid she just laughed again and shook her head. Looks like we're going to have to get you sorted out, she announced. I realized from the amount of stuff she brought with her that she intended to stay around for a while. She had a whole trunk full of clothes, a vanity case, not to mention the wash stand and mirror. Fortunately, there was lots of space, more than I needed really, so I told her she could use the upper floor. I expect you thought my house of tin was a single room affair with a bunk bed in one corner and a bucket in the other. Well, as a matter of fact, nothing could be further from the truth. The man who built it wanted more than just a shack to spend the winter in. He wanted 2 stories and a stairway and a sloping roof with gutters and drain pipes for the rainwater. He built it facing west southwest, head on to the wind, and sound enough for any storm. It's a proper house, I tell you, not the kind of ramshackle shanty you might find on some distant seashore where they fish in the morning and sleep in the afternoon. No, you wouldn't catch me living in a place like that. Much better to be somewhere that's going to hold together for a few years, which was why I chose a building 4 square and tall, which with an upper floor. I really thought this woman would be pleased to have a bit of room to herself, but when she saw the stairs, she just took one look at me and said, "They're very steep, aren't they?" Well, of course they were steep. What else did she expect in a Tory house, 2 story house made of tin? All right. I admit it was quite a struggle getting the trunk and everything hoisted up, but the way she went on, you'd have thought the stairs had been made steep deliberately. So yeah, you get the idea. I mean, it gets more bizarre as we get into the book, and just look at the other ones I've read. I haven't read all 20 books, but Restraint of Beasts and the Scheme for Full Employment is a I can recommend. And but let's talk about the Three to See the King. Okay, so it's described as part parable, part speculative fiction, written after the success of his first book. It started out as a project to prove to himself that he could be a full time writer. It's been translated into German and French. Trois pour voir le roi in 2005. Okay, so yeah, in French. I wonder what it was like in French. Maybe a bit like I don't know, maybe like the Le Petit Prince or something. Okay, so the plot, it's a nameless narrator. He has no name. He doesn't. He lives in an isolated tin house situated on a windswept sandy plain, miles from his nearest neighbor, whom he meets infrequently. He's quite happy in his lonely self-sufficiency. Lonely self-sufficiency until unexpectedly a woman, Mary Petrie, comes to live with him, as we checked out in the first 2 chapters there. Unsettled at first, the narrator gradually gets used to the companionship. Then news comes of a new community being established on the edge of the plain by a charismatic yet enigmatic figure who is digging a canyon and gaining more and more followers to his revolutionary cause. One by one, his neighbors join the canyon project, moving their tin houses to this new community as the narrator feels under increasing pressure to join them. It transpires that the end goal for this project is not for there to be a city of tin houses, but a city of clay houses. Many of the previously convinced citizens of the plain and beyond are frustrated by the news and decide to return to their previous existence. So, yes. So that's I wouldn't say that's like a complete plot strategy there, but it is a man living out in nature, and and uh, it's definitely a man versus society type of book, and I mean, uh, it's very strange. You should read it, check it out. Um, Magnus Mills. I mean, I, I mean, he has 20 books and stuff, and I mean, I'm kind of intimidated by him, because he's like pretty close to my age, so I don't want to be too influenced by Magnus Mills. He's kind of intimidated because I think he's way better than a lot of. I mean, he's an English writer, but he's a lot better than like Urban Welsh and a few recent British writers. And maybe I don't know. I don't know if people know who he is, but um, I caught on to him about a little over 20 years ago, and I think he's an amazing writer. Magnus Mills, check him out. Three to City King, Restraint of Beasts. What's the other one? The I mean, all of them sound great. The Scheme for Full Employments, All Quiet on the Orient Express. Um, yeah, I guess he's a little bit like. I mean, he's very new. He's very unique kind of writer. I find in the few books that I've read. Okay, so that's all for tonight. You get five. I got 5 books, 5 T-shirts, 5 readings, and check out my book too. It just came out, The Analog Body. I'm going to be doing some readings this year. They're starting to pile up. You know, I'm in my own uh, time of proving if I can be a writer or not. Or make a living, make some money, or at least have a good time. Okay. Good night, everyone.